Nadeem here with PC.Solutions.Net, and I'm here with Mack, and it's a chat with Mack today. So, hi Mack, how you doing?
How's it going, boss? How's everything going?
All right, pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain. Just you know, it's been a hectic day today, and I don't know how I'm going to get everything done. Good thing is tomorrow is the weekend, so I'll get some of the stuff done tomorrow. But yeah, so what are we going to talk about today?
So, craziness, in the news. If you're like me, you probably use Instacart to do your grocery shopping, especially when you have a grown adult daughter like I do that eats everything up in the house. So you're constantly replenishing your groceries. Well, there was a article that I was reading. I shared with you. I think I shared with you recently. I forget, but there are a bunch of Instacart customers' information on the dark web, almost almost like 20,000 names and addresses and credit card and all this other stuff that's on the dark web. And I remember I was just looking like, wow, seriously. It's like you can't do anything anymore. And there's something that you say all the time, and I don't think our viewers really take heed. These individuals, these characters that are taking information, they're smart and they get smart day by day. And now here we are, Instacart, that's on there. So I know you got a lot to say about that because you talk about it religiously, even on from the small business. This is just consumer. So can you imagine small business and how that could happen? So yeah.
So let me ask you this: did Instagram reach out to you, or I mean, Instacart reach out to you and say that anything's been breached, or that they've had a breach, or anything like
I
that?
not receive an email. No.
Yeah. So I don't know, is Instacart a public company or no?
That's another good question, actually. That's a really good question. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know
I think
if
they're private. I don't think they've gone public yet, and I think that's why maybe they haven't reached out regarding the breach because they're not. So they don't have to divulge any information. Uh, so you know, you made a good comment that these bad guys are getting smart, and people thought, okay, the pandemic, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Things are going to quieten down. People are going to get busy with other stuff. And then we find out that the light at the end of the tunnel is actually a train coming our way. so so now and here's an interesting thing about the equation between the scammers and the bad guys and the good guys. So until a bad guy is caught, or you detect them trying to get into your network, the bad guys have all the benefit. In other words, you have to do everything right to detect them. They only have to do one thing right to get in,
mm,
right? And then once you detect them, the equation changes. Once you've detected them, you just have to do one thing to prevent further action, and they have to do everything right to make sure they flow horizontally in your network.
mm.
So it's an interesting way to look at it, because people say, well, why are the bad guys getting? And look, it's like I try to tell people, it's like you're in a crowded city, and there's a pickpocket in the crowd. When a pickpocket has targeted you, there is not a lot you can do to protect yourself.
Mm.
Now,
Wow.
Now, small businesses, they have to do everything right. Any business out there, they have to do everything right to prevent the bad guys from getting in. The bad guys only have to do one thing right to get in there. And once they're in there, the damage is done. So,
Wow.
with Instacart, that's one thing. There's been some major things going on this week. I mean, the big Twitter thing, and I mean,
That has been something else. That whole Twitter, and the worst part about it, is that with that Twitter hack, people are pissed because, for lack of a better term, they're pissed because they were sending Bitcoins or, sending Bitcoin addresses and sending Bitcoin thinking they were going to get this back. And, Twitter's
So,
like,
it's so a lot of the bad guys are actually moving away from Bitcoin.
they are. Yep.
Because they're moving to other currencies, like Monero or whatever. So, and the reasoning behind that is Bitcoin can be traced as long as the U.S. has, some sort of a policy with the country where the funds are flowing into, and it's traceable. Some of the lesser known currencies, they're not traceable. So the bad guys are kind of making that shift, moving away from Bitcoin and moving more and more towards these lesser known currencies, because the Bitcoin wallets can be traced, and if you involve legal or your insurance companies or whatever, they can actually monitor the wallets as soon as the money changes. And if that money goes into a country where there's an agreement between the U.S. and that country, then that money can be brought back. So there's a chance that money can come back. It's not a chance that I would rely on, but there is a chance.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if in case let me share my let me share this over here. So in case people haven't been paying attention, so this is the Twitter breach that happened, and the risk to small business is extreme as far as Twitter goes. The Twitter breach goes. The individual risk is moderate. Now, it's
wow.
I mean, it's been a huge thing, and I've been hearing, a lot of times we talk to customers and they're like, oh, dark web, yeah, whatever, I've heard about it.
Trust me, I get it day by day.
people think it's a made up thing.
Yeah.
People don't think it's real. I mean, just because you don't see it or you don't have access to it does not mean it does not exist.
It's a very real thing. Yeah.
So and I've logged into the dark web, and I've just to test things around, just lab environments, and I've looked at some of the marketplaces over there, and I mean, it's like anything you want, it doesn't matter legal or illegal, you can buy it over there. I mean, everything is available. So the Twitter hack happened, which I'm sure a lot of companies or a lot of people out there have heard about that. And there's some other interesting things happening over here as well. So Blackbaud. So Blackbaud got a breach as well, and it's a cloud services company. So they got hit by ransomware attack May 2020, right? And they did pay the hackers the ransom. The ransom was not paid to decrypt the files. It was paid to stop the release of stolen data by the hackers. So in other words, this is an interesting case, because a company, Blackbaud, is not paying the hackers to get the decryption key and decrypt the data that they've encrypted. They're paying them so that the data they got out of Blackbaud's network, they don't release publicly, because it's Blackbaud's customer data. Wow. I mean, so it's interesting to see go that way. And of course, the risk to small business is severe. Individual risk is moderate. But ransomware is one of those things that, and I've seen it hit quite a few companies out there. Every company should be working to mitigate against that. I mean, these guys, they're using automated processes. They don't even have to target a specific company. Their automated processes is going to automatically target you if you have certain things in place. They're automatically going to target you. It's a good business model. I mean, basically, it's a machine that keeps running by itself and making you money. I mean, you know, um, but so the way to get around that is basically we have to make the weakest link a little bit stronger.
Mm,
The weakest link being that user sitting in front of a machine. That's the weakest link. So as far as ransomware and phishing attacks go, you got to train your users. There's just
yeah.
no way around that. You got awareness. I mean, we can only do so much with technology. At some point, we hit that brick wall, which is the user. And if that user is clicking or playing around and stuff, it's gonna. Now, just users, not doing what they're supposed to be doing. In the last 2 weeks, uh, I've been detecting more and more potentially unwanted software
Yeah.
getting access to machines. Now, these are monitored machines, our customer monitored machines. So we can see when machines are getting, this malware. We're picking it up when we're quarantining it. But the point is that I see the uptick in the number of events that are happening. So I don't know if that means something big is coming, or
Yeah.
if just the hackers are really desperate because of the pandemic and they're just trying every which way to get access to machines. Whatever the reason is, but that's what's happening.
Mm,
And what you probably want to do is train the users so they can identify stuff. But that doesn't mean that skin on technology. You still want to monitor the dark web, get alerts if you do see information like that breached out to the dark web. Multi-factor authentication. You want to use all the technologies to your advantage, but the weakest link is going to be the human behind the machine. So we want to look at that now. So that was Blackbot, and I think that was all in the U.S. That was major. That happened.
hmm
So now Blackbot is a pretty good sized company, and they got hit by ransomware. They did not need the data, the decryption, because I'm guessing because they had a good backup in place, so they were able to go back to the backups and restore the data. However, they did pay the ransom so that the bad guys will not publish the information they have picked up about Blackbaud's customers. So that was interesting. It was different. So that's what happened with Twitter. Now, Instacart, that's another thing uh, that's interesting, is that Instacart has not reached out to their customers. So I
And
don't
that
know.
could be me now because I checked my email and I haven't received anything that said, "Hey, listen, this could be problematic," and you might want to change things. I haven't gotten it yet.
Wow. But did you change your password anyway?
I did. I did.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Definitely. It was like, let me change my password ASAP because
Well,
this could be problematic.
the good thing for me is, where I live in the boonies, we don't get Instacart. We don't get Uber. What is it? Uber Eats. We don't
Uber
get
Eats?
Uber Eats.
Really? No
Yeah,
Uber Eats, no
yeah,
Instacart?
no Uber Eats. So I was in one of the I don't know. I was in some seminar or webinar or something, and they were giving out these Uber Eats credits. The gift credits they give you.
That was
So
actually
I got a few of those.
The Microsoft webinar we were in this week. I
Right,
got it.
right,
I
right. So
used
they
it
were sending
actually.
out these. I'm like, what are you doing? I can't use this stuff. Do something else. But but anyway, so the other good news this week is my Surface laptop came back, the replacement. So it's working. It's working good. It's as I set up my new machine, I was quite, it it gave me a little different perspective because all of a sudden I felt like an end user, not a, not the guy who sets up machines for other people, but the guy setting up his own machine. And the process was, I mean, I remember, back in the day, 4 or 5 years ago, it used to be such a painful process. It was so easy. I mean, all I had to do was log in with my Microsoft 365 credentials, and pretty much it did everything for me. It installed Office, it configured. I mean, everything was done for me. It even added my credentials to the Windows credentials. So, if when I set up well, it automatically set up my OneDrive sync. But when I tried to log in through a browser into Microsoft 365, it knew what my credentials were because it already added them to Windows. So, and so I mean, it's great. The experience was great. It didn't take me, but maybe, well, so I had to do update on the machine. That took the longest, which was probably like an hour, maybe hour and a half. But I set it up overnight and I just let it go. The setup for my, the personalization part, it only took me like maybe 15 or 20 minutes and I was done.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, wow, this is a very streamlined process. And that got me thinking, it's, how good end users feel when their company uses autopilot to provision machines for them, and all they have to do is log in with their Microsoft 365 credentials, and boom,
Yeah.
everything is there, everything is set up. I mean, their wallpapers, their settings, everything. I mean, it's just awesome. So that, that process was very good. Now the back to the conversation at hand. One of the things that I was working on is incident response. Incident response when you do have a breach. Uh, many small businesses, when they do have a disaster, they do not recover. They just go out of business. And what I mean by disaster, it doesn't have to be a natural disaster. I mean, it could just be a breach. It could be a breach, and you run into a situation where there's the initial brunt of force that hits you, right? I mean, you gotta reach out to your customers, and you gotta basically figure out what you're gonna do, what you're gonna tell them, and then some of the legal fees, and then even if you have cyber insurance, your insurance may not cover everything. I mean, your insurance is going to cover you, but what about your customer? Your customer might not have insurance. I mean, they're going to come after you, right? Your customer is going to come after you. So, I mean, your insurance may not be able to cover. Now, the interesting part is a lot of times cybersecurity insurance may pay ransom for ransomware.
Really?
It might pay ransom. I didn't know that. So that was something new I learned. So there are policies that may pay ransom for ransomware. The problem is they're not going to pay it in advance. You have to pay it first, and they're going to reimburse you for it. So if the ransom is $3 million, well,
Yeah, good luck with that.
you got to get a loan to pay the bad guys, and then they'll reimburse you later. So I was looking into some of the stuff there, and I was like, okay, well, they're gonna pay the ransom, which is good, but the catch is they're gonna pay it after you pay. They're just gonna reimburse you after you pay. So it was like, wow, okay. So prevention is the key. If you can prevent yourself, if you do everything right, everything by the book, the bad guys have no chance, because the bad guys are going to see all these layers of security. They're going to say, no, that guy down the street is an easier target. I'm going to go over there, attack him. Or the bots that some of the bad guys have, they're going to peel a few layers. They're not going to peel all of the layers. So they may know of 1 or 2 layers out of your 10-layer security model. They may know about 1 or 2 layers. They peel a couple of layers. and they move on. That's what they do because they want to, infect and infiltrate as quickly as possible. So that's the thing. Small business. I think training is crucial, but along with training, you can do a few things to basically protect the business. Uh, you know, when I say protect the business, it's not just I'm not just talking about customers, but there are your staff. I mean, we don't think about this, but your staff. I mean, all this ancillary, other vendor. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that happens. I mean, you might have some information on some of your vendors. Bad guy could get your login info to a portal where you place orders for stuff and place orders on your behalf, ship them off to somewhere else, and end up with all this stuff that ends up in Nigeria somehow. Well, not Nigeria, hush puppies caught
My
up.
home
So.
country. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's that's the thing is we have to have all these layers of protection, and the idea is that we let the bad guys peel off some of these layers and then they move on. Um, uh, but until you detect a breach, everything is stacked against you and everything is for the bad guys. Once you detect that, everything is stacked against the bad guys and it is stacked, in your favor. So you have a question?
Yeah. So now we here at PCSN actually have a few tools that you talk about training, and that I think that's huge. Hell, I had a situation where I had something come in from Microsoft, and I sent it to you like, what, Nadeem, I don't know if this is phishing or not, and you were able to say, no, that's phishing. But we do offer that in the way of a dark web ID and a few other things. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, so and I don't do a very good job of talking about what we have, but what we do is we train. So we do a couple of things. So the first thing that we do is detect a breach when credentials are for sale somewhere on the dark web, and and this is a team of people that their sole purpose in life is to detect and infiltrate these systems and get this information. So once we get that, and it's not like have I been pwned where it's a free site. No, this is a paid service, by the way, folks, and it's a huge cost to keep track of all this. But anyway, so first we detect. If we detect a breach, we let people know. Now, when a breach is detected, we detect it several different ways. Now, a breach could have. We may just know that credentials are for sale, but we don't know what the credentials are.
Right.
Or we might know that credentials are available on the dark web. So somebody has gotten the credentials and they've posted it freely available to anybody on the dark web. In that case, we will know the credentials, we'll know the username and the password. And sometimes the password is hashed, but that's easy to unhash it and get the password. And then on top of that, if we detect there is any kind of personally identifiable information available as well, we will tell you that as well. And what I mean by that is it could be first name, last name, phone number, or it could be address, phone number, or it could be phone number, social security number. I mean, it could be so many different things, but anything that's personally identifiable, we will tell you that as well. So in the report that we send out, we show you everything that we found. Now, if we don't find anything, we also send you a good bill of health. So so we know that you're good. There haven't been any breaches. So now let's go to the other part, and I'm going to get to training in a little bit. So the second part, what we do is simulations, right? So we will pretend to be the bad guys, and we will attack a specific user or users in your company, trying to see if the users are doing what they're supposed to be doing or if they're just clicking and providing information on any email. So basically we are phishing, as a bad guy, trying to see if we can get some information from the user. And if we do get that information from the user, we send you a report. So we send, your management or IT admins a report of what users clicked, what users provided what type of information, and what users did what they're supposed to do, which is simply ignore the message or delete it. The final piece is the training. So what we do is we do monthly trainings, and the trainings are actually based on upcoming threats, right? So, remember I talked about that team of people whose sole purpose in life is to look at this stuff and investigate, and that's all they live and breathe this stuff. And so with all these sensors, we kind of have an idea what are the up and coming threats. What's going to be like next month? What are the probable threats that we're going to see? So we do trainings on the threats that are coming up, as opposed to just doing training for the sake of training.
Right.
If a threat is already passed, then why do you need to train for it? It's already done. The bad guys have moved on. So we need to anticipate what the bad guys are doing and then do the training based on that. Now, training is just one piece of it. The other piece is not only do we train it, but we also track which users have actually taken the training. And by the way, these are short video training sessions. So we also track which users have watched the training videos. We also report which users have completed the training videos, because a user might start but not complete it, right? Maybe it wasn't interesting enough for them and they just moved on to something else. And that happens a lot. So we can tell management, okay, these users started the training, but they did not complete it. And then we can say these users started the training and they completed it. And finally, we'll have these users started the training, they completed it, and they passed the quiz at the end. So what that tells you is that those users are actually retaining some knowledge out of that training. So if a user is taking the training every month, but they keep failing the quiz or not taking the quiz, then you don't know if the user is retaining any of that information. So we want to not only do the training and the phishing simulation stuff, but we also want to report to management for that. Now, there are two ways to look at this. One is we report to management so management can see what's going on, what's happening in their organization, which are the weakest links in the organization. But the other thing is there may be some requirement that they have to send this information to a third party, like a vendor might require their users to go through certain training. And they may require that they show some kind of log that users have actually attended the training. So these reports that we do kind of show you that okay, users, this many users started training, this many users completed training, this many users passed the quiz. And then we also have the simulation part. This many users opened an email that they weren't supposed to open it, and this many users actually clicked on a link in that email, and then this many users actually provided their credentials after clicking that link. So we have all these extensive reports that we send to management, so management can better decide what to do and all of that. So there's a lot of things that we do, a lot of things in place. Combine that with something that'll do multi-factor on your desktop, and you've pretty much you've pretty much gotten enough layers where the bad guys are not going to target you, and even if they do, they'll peel off a few layers and they'll move on to somebody else. Because like if somebody, let's say somebody has hacked or gone around one of your systems in place, well, there's a whole totally separate system after that. So it's next to impossible for one entity to be proficient in all of these systems at once. So it gets very hard for them to understand all of that. So that's the thing. My advice always is put all these layers in place, train the users, verify that the users are retaining that knowledge, And once you implement MFA across all your platforms, I think you're golden. I mean, that pretty much solves the issue right there. Now, I'm going to say I'm going to go a little further and just talk a little bit about what we do and how we do things. So we do, uh, uh, we of course we do these things. We sell these things individually, right? So these layers, we sell them individually. But we also have a plan where we provide comprehensive solution to companies. Now, it's targeted for companies with 20 or more users. It starts at 20 users. But basically what it is, it's a fixed cost.
Yep.
And then we take care of everything. So if you need phone support, call us. If you need remote support, have us do the remote support. There's no additional overages based on that. If we need to dispatch a tech on site, we will dispatch a tech on site. It's all included. And the reason for creating a plan like that was I heard from a lot of customers that, oh, Nadeem, we would love to do this, but, costs are getting out of hand, or hey, this month costs got out of hand and I don't know, what to do, or budgets are tight, and the hourly billing, basically it's a gray area. It fluctuates too much. Can you give us a fixed cost where we know exactly what we're going to pay per month and do that? So it's that peace of mind that you will only pay a certain amount, and then everything else is handled by us. Now, there's another way to look at it, and that is basically we're removing the risk from the customer and taking it on us.
Yep.
Right? So that the onus is on us now, that we have to do everything right, or if we have to, I'll give you an example. So let's say, we sent a tech on site to fix something and the tech didn't do it right. So now we have to send a tech back out on site. Well, that's a cost to us because the customer is paying a fixed amount. If we have to send a tech twice for the same job, then it's more cost to us. So it's a built-in incentive for us to do things right the first time.
Yep.
So we don't end up doing multiple truck rolls for the same problem. So basically what we're doing is we're removing that risk from the customer and taking it on ourselves, because we are confident that we can control and manage that risk, because our processes are mature enough where we know we can handle it, without the cost going through the roof, and that's what it is. So that's the other thing that I don't talk a lot about our plans and all of that, but we do listen to customers. We change them as customers are looking for different options. So that's one of the things that we do. Combine that with our cloud-based hosting systems, and it's like it's like a cookie cutter approach, and that's a good thing in IT, because if you can come up with a cookie cutter approach to IT, then you can control and manage your costs.
Yeah,
it's the a la carte specialty type boutique deals that basically take the cost through the roof, right?
It's the pockets hard.
Exactly. So the thing is, we do have these plans in place, and I know customers that are on these plans, they love them. I mean, because they don't have to have an in-house IT guy anymore, or an IT liaison anymore to interface with us, because it doesn't matter if one user calls us or 100 users call us. The cost does not change for the customer, right? So and the other thing is, we make sure that we do a lot of things as proactively as possible to minimize that customer call, because we don't want customers calling us. We want to take care of it ahead of time, right? Because every time that the time we're spending on the phone talking to a customer, we're losing money. So what we want to do is we want to automate, and we want to do a lot of these processes on a routine basis automatically, as opposed to waiting for something to break and then the customer calling us and then we fixing it, and that's an additional cost to us. So we don't want to do that. So that's it. Mac, you have any other questions for me? I think I don't want to keep it short. I don't want to make it go too long.
No, I'm glad we talked about it. A lot of you are getting to know me, and I call and I bother a lot of you. But what Nadeem is offering here, as far as the fixed rate, I don't think it can be beat. And so, especially as it pertains to security nowadays, allow us to come in, and we're working with a few customers now where we've done an assessment, and they're like, "Whoa." I didn't know this was going on.
So let me say this, to people who are listening, it might be a question in their minds. Oh, what is the assessment going to find? Let me put it this way. There has never been an assessment where we have not found more than 3 or 4 glaring risks in
Yeah,
the strategy. So even if you are our customers, get the assessment done. It
absolutely.
it I mean, you have nothing to lose. I mean, at the end of the day, the assessment may not reveal anything, but I can tell you, so far, I have yet to do an assessment that did not reveal anything.
Yeah,
It just is. Because IT is so complex, there are so many moving parts. Everybody has to do everything a certain way, or you might have a red flag somewhere, and that's what the assessment is for. That's what the assessment catches.
yeah.
So I think on that note, we're going to call it a day, and I appreciate everybody joining us. And then we'll see you. Well, I'll talk to everybody Monday, but Mac will be with me next Friday. And till then, everybody have a good day, and be safe out there.
Please be safe. There's a storm coming, so please be safe, guys.
Have
Have a good one, Nadeem.
a good one.